Hey y'all, this is Pickleball on Call, back for another consult. You guys have been asking for it, so here it is. This is 6-0's Coral Pro, a highly anticipated paddle known for its outstanding combination of offensive capability, sophisticated touch, and elite grit. At $200 after code, the Coral Pro is one of the most highly requested paddles from you guys, and for very good reason. But that's a lot of praise for now. Let's take a look at what makes this paddle so special and get straight into the data. The 6-0 Coral Pro is built around the same tectonic core suspension system that we saw in the original Coral. It's a lot to unpack, and quite frankly, an X-ray image isn't gonna suffice. So here's a schematic for you to follow along. At the center is a core built using what 6-0 calls their propulsion foam, an EPP-based blend designed to optimize energy transfer without sacrificing controllability. Surrounding this core is a propulsion foam band that extends into the handle. There's also a separate EVA foam band that they've termed the Power Band. What's unique about this design is that it utilizes specially engineered incisions in the surface of the propulsion foam core, which serves to improve flex and pocketing, hence the tectonic and the tectonic core suspension system. On the surface, we have 6-0's new double diamond tough face material, which is still a peel ply layer infused with actual diamonds. However, compared to the original Coral's standard diamond tough, this new double diamond tough surface utilizes twice the density of diamonds and is 2.5 times rougher in texture. We'll get into the numbers in just a little bit, but for now, just know that it does not disappoint. At the time of making this video, the 6-0 Coral Pro is available in 3 aero top shapes: a wide body, a hybrid, and an elongated. Out of the box, my Coral Pro Hybrid measured 8.07 ounces static, with a swing weight of 111.4, a twist weight of 6.58, and a balance point of 23.7 centimeters, which is in line with what 6-0 advertises. While these paddles come with a good swing weight and twist weight as is, I personally customized mine with 2-gram pickle clips just below the top corners, and 2-gram pickle clips just above the bottom corners. As always, I finished things up with 2 layers of overgrip, and I also added a 5-gram coin just to balance things out. This setup brought the swing weight from 111.4 to 115.6, the twist weight from 6.58 to 7.37, and the balance point from 23.7 centimeters down to 23.2 centimeters, adding on to the Coral Pro's already good firepower, stability, and feel, and transforming this paddle into something truly special and worth talking about. Firepower metrics were standardized using 3 reference paddles that were tested side by side with a stock and broken in hybrid 6-0 Coral Pro. Power is defined as ball speed off of a full swing. I recorded an average serve speed of 57.4 miles per hour, which translates into a power rating of 9 out of 10 on my scale. For reference, the original Coral had an average serve speed of 56.6 miles per hour, which translated to a 7.5 out of 10. Dynamic pop, defined as ball speed off of a shorter stroke, such as a flick or a punch volley, averaged 39.3 miles per hour, which translates to a dynamic pop rating of 7.5 out of 10. In comparison, the original Coral had an average volley speed of 39.0 miles per hour, which translates to a 7.0 out of 10. Static pop is defined as ball speed after contact with a stationary paddle, such as with a block or a reset. I use my in-game impressions as a proxy for the paddle's PB core. Compared to the original Coral, the Coral Pro does have a higher rebound velocity, which also means that pop-ups are more frequent. While it is still plenty easy to tame, most players should be conscientious when taking pace off of aggressive incoming shots. For this reason, I would give static pop a rating of 7.5 out of 10. The 6-0 Coral Pro received an overall firepower rating of 8.25 out of 10, which puts it at the lower end of the power category. Spin was measured using slow motion footage off of heavy topspin serves. 6-0's extremely coarse double diamond tough surface generated an average spin reading of 2,421 RPM, which translates to elite levels of spin in my database. In addition to spin generation, I tested the surface durability of 6-0's double diamond tough grit. There's really not much for me to say here, as after 25 hours of play, spin readings only dropped by about 5 to 10 RPM. Now, I will say that using this paddle has encouraged me to play more of the soft game, which could suggest that this paddle has less wear than usual, as I'm not constantly banging stuff around. So I'll be sure to update you guys after about another 25 hours of play. And before we move on, I wanted to mention that I did notice a difference in surface texture between this original colorway and the limited edition Nautilus or Rainbow colorway. It's difficult to show on camera, but when I run my finger across each of these paddles, it's pretty evident to me that the Rainbow colorway is less gritty. It feels as if the surface texture of the rainbow colorway is somewhere between the double diamond tuff and the original diamond tuff. I did some investigation to see if it was just a manufacturing variance, but all 4 of the Rainbow Coral Pros that I looked at had less grit than both of my Black Coral Pros. However, the spin generation of the Rainbow Coral Pro is still pretty good at 2,350 RPM. Control is loosely defined as how well a paddle allows you to place your shots where you intended on placing them. I calculate a paddle's control by taking a weighted average of its firepower, forgiveness, and playability while factoring in my in-game impressions. You guys already know the deal. This is a subjective and relative rating, and everyone has their own take on what determines a paddle's control. So, taking its moderately high rebound, excellent feel, and elite spin profile into consideration, the 6-0 Coral Pro scores a 5 out of 10 in my control rating, which makes this paddle a great choice for players who are playing at around the high intermediate level. I would not personally recommend this paddle to beginners or new intermediates, unless you have some exposure or experience in another racket sport such as tennis or table tennis, as the moderately high rebound and somewhat responsive feel can be a little overwhelming at the kitchen. The 6-0 Coral Pro offers a somewhat predictable output in a large sweet spot, which I'll put up on the screen. Some of you have already caught on, but I recently updated my testing methodology and visualization for sweet spot to remove a few variables and make things a little more easier to interpret. So now, the outer translucent green outline represents the paddle's total sweet spot, whereas the inner solid green shading represents the paddle's optimal sweet spot. One thing I wanted to note about the Coral Pro is that its optimal sweet spot acts as more of a hot spot, whereas there's usually less discrepancy in other paddles. Overall, I would still consider the sweet spot to be pretty large on this paddle, but there is a little extra spice when you hit it just right. On the court, the Coral Pro offers a similar feel to the original Coral, but with added stiffness. I would still place it in the dense half of the field chart and say that it's more stiff than it is soft. Its output tends to be pretty linear, and as the paddle breaks in over the first 5 to 10 hours, you'll notice the sweet spot open up just a little bit, and more notably, the overall feel of the paddle nudge its way from the dense and stiff quadrant ever so slightly into the dense and soft quadrant. At $200 after code, the 6-0 Coral Pro is easily one of the best paddles on the market right now. For me, it's a no-brainer recommendation for players at or above the high intermediate levels who are looking for a little added control but aren't willing to give up the firepower that you find in modern power paddles. For players who are looking for slightly more touch, I would nudge you towards the original non-pro Coral. The new double diamond tough surface lands into the elite category for both spin and grit durability, which makes the Coral Pro an excellent investment. However, potential buyers should be wary that 1, this paddle really isn't meant for beginners or new intermediates, and 2, the rainbow colorway, which is the only extra colorway out at the time of making this video, does seem to have a slightly toned down version of the double diamond tough surface material. But even with all that being said and everything considered, I would still personally give the 6-0 Coral Pro an overall rating of 9.5 out of 10. The wide body Coral Pro is currently tied with the Spartus P1 as my favorite paddle, and in all honesty, there's very little that I find wrong with this paddle. Yeah, the sweet spot could be a little larger and more consistent, but that's why I use the wide body. And yeah, it could have a little more control for some people, but ultimately I think that this paddle is so refined that those 2 points of contention are just me nitpicking at personal preferences. When I look at the whole package and how each aspect of the paddle, the great swing weight, the great twist weight, the large sweet spot, its sufficient control, its high power, the elite spin, and top tier durability, how each of those work together as a whole, I start to accept that there's really not much more that I want at this particular point in time. Is there room for improvement and innovation? Absolutely. But I just think that right now, as things stand, the 6-0 Coral Pro is easily going to be contender for 2026's Paddle of the Year for both myself and many others. And this wraps up my review of the 6-0 Coral Pro. Thank you all again for being part of this community. Let me know what paddle you want me to review next, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.